Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months required. New subscribers only. Renew for 12 months to lock in savings. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See mintmobile.com.
Hi guys, welcome to a bonus episode of Heavy Metal Tones that follows on from a couple of episodes we did a few weeks ago around the War to End All Wars. The Great War. Oh, I've done it again. I've done it again. Do you know what we did? I just, a little side note, I'm not going to edit this, leave it. The Great War. I've been talking about war all day, and there's a couple of Sabbaton albums, which is the Great War and the War to End All Wars, and I said it twice. I even edited it out. Anyway, done now. You come for the quality, you stay for the talk, right?
You're here for a good time.
Here for a good time. So, yes, this is the little bonus follow-on. What we couldn't tack on the mammoth episode, the last one we did, which was over an hour and 20 minutes, was very long for us. I thought we would sort of, so we didn't squeeze it and get you bored and tire you and phase your brain. I thought I'd have this little shorter episode just tucked in, so we can Benjy can finish off what he wanted to say, because he had some real insights that he wanted to bring over. So without further ado, here's Benjy Murphy and his insights into the First World War.
Very insightful.
Very insightful.
Alright, so the last two tracks we didn't cover on the main two episodes, sort of the Great War and the War to End All Wars, sort of just because they encompass sort of the First World War in general. They're not about any specific things, so we thought we'd just sort of combine them into one general discussion about the war. So I've prepared a little spiel here that I'll get into. One event more than any other has shaped the world we live in today. From blood and mud of the trenches of France to the steppes of Russia and the plains of Africa, crushed under the boot heels of millions of men, the glory and romanticism of the old world died, and our new world was born in the smoke and horror. Empires and kingdoms that had stood for 1,000 years would crumble, never to return, and new independent nations would rise from the ashes, while countries like America, Canada, Australia and India would acquire legacies and new national identities forged in the flames of war, and man would finally accept that the awful weapons had finally taken over. And those that stood in the way would be ground to dust. Even as the war approached its end, the violence would continue to ramp up and increase until its bloody conclusion, the guns and artillery firing right up until 11 a.m. on the armistice. 9 million soldiers dead, 5 million civilians dead. The world would never be the same, and what was thought to be the war to end all wars would be nothing but an idealistic dream. The horror would return sooner rather than later. Mud and blood in foreign land trying to understand. Where is this greatness I've been told? This is the lies that we've been sold. Is this a worthy sacrifice?
Oh, beautiful words, Benjy. Beautiful words. Absolutely, I was sort of had to be quiet there. That was a really nice piece of writing. That very, very, very apt. To be honest, to cap off what has been quite a sort of heavy subject matter. It's beautiful, Benjy. Absolutely beautiful. So, why did it happen?
Oh, that's a tough question.
Is it the folly of man? Is it the grab of land? There's my lyric.
The grab of land.
The folly of man, the grab of land.
Should be a poet, mate. You missed your calling.
I know.
Look, as to why, that is a tough question. I'm willing to say I'm definitely not qualified to answer that.
All you know is that it happened, right? We all know that it happened.
That's it. It's just, I think the most fascinating thing is trying to understand how and why it happened. Like you say, it's...
Yeah. I mean, it's beautiful here. That piece of writing you did there, but particularly about the colonies, Canada and Australia, new identities.
Yeah.
So do you think, in summing, that actually good things did happen? I mean, is there any positives take aside the death and the things like that? I mean, the birth of new nations, the independence, the downfall of the British Empire.
Absolutely. I mean, not so much the downfall of the British Empire. I mean, debatable. You could be happy or sad about that. I suppose where you're from. Look, it's an interesting thing. I wouldn't say it was a good thing. Absolutely not. I mean, losing millions and millions of people is never look at that as a good thing. But absolutely, the birth of our modern world can be traced directly back to the First World War. Sort of, I mean, that some of the things in the First World War we still live with today. Tanks.
Yeah.
Tanks are still a part of warfare today. The sort of the small unit tactics that
commandos sort of thing
were come up with by the end of the First World War, which we'll get into at a different stage on a different podcast. So I won't talk too much about that. But things like the stormtroopers and going from lines of hundreds of men in a trench to small elite units.
Yeah. Fossicking out for
and just stuff, everything. It's amazing looking at our world today and just the connections back to just that one period.
Yeah.
Where the old world dies.
Changes. Yeah.
I wouldn't say changes. I'd say dies.
Dies.
The old world is that romanticism and that Victorian sort of old world outlook on how things work is absolutely left for dead in the fields of France and Belgium, and the new world is our new technology is born from that from the horror and the blood of that. And I mean, most births are painful, bloody experiences. So
and often deaths are not peaceful either.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Very rare you get to die a nice peaceful death.
It's very rare indeed. Yeah. So on that very somber moment there, so we've got to talk about the war to end all wars. All right, the Great War. Where do we go from here? Ooh, that was me smashing things there, people. You've got to come to me for the smashing noises. It's okay. I was stretching and smacked the mic.
So where do you go from there? It is interesting, but like I say, anybody that's fascinated by this, go pick up a book, go look online and investigate these things. Like I say, the world we live in today, I mean, things like 9/11 directly link back to the First World War, and our discussions about Lawrence of Arabia and sort of how the Middle East was treated in the First World War and their hatred and dislike of Western powers these days. Direct result of things that happened in the First World War. And
do you think? I mean, this is to take it back to my side of the conversation, because I can't contribute in the history bit. But musically, do you think that it's good for people to start their journey of knowledge? Let's be honest, it's a journey of knowledge and understanding of this horrendous time through the medium of music?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, like you said, you came across it because of that way. It's the same thing, right?
I mean, music is art, like anything.
So you think that if we sort of think, Sabbaton aside, there are other great bands. I mean, you were talking about 1914, what you listened to, and there's some really interesting musical directions or genres. It doesn't have to be heavy metal. I think there's great music in classical music that depicts the war, and there is I wouldn't say pop. I can't imagine it's pop music, but because it's not the kind of medium that relates to light and trivia, is it? It's heavy and oppressive, and that's
still. I mean, there's a few sort of pop songs that are surprisingly dark and hard hitting when you look into the lyrics and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so it's not exclusively a heavy metal sort of genre.
No, no.
Obviously, it suits a bit more with, like, the thundering drums and guitars and the heaviness. It sort of fits a bit more with the war theme. But
it's very much in its milieu, isn't it?
But yeah, even with the sort of the lighter touch of the Sabbaton, I mean, it's just one of those things. If it gets you into history, then.
And I have to say, I that's how I've got into. I'm really addicted to history podcasts at the moment. And one of those was when I first listened to the first Sabbaton album that you said, "Oh, you should listen to this." And I was like,
absolutely. Like, if you're somebody that's not particularly into war history, I go, "Hey, man, here's a book on the Battle of the Somme." You might go, "Oh, okay, well, that's not really my thing. I'm not into reading." Oh, here's an album about, here's an album of heavy metal about the war. You might go, "Oh, well, that's more my thing. I'm more into heavy metal. I'll give it a go."
And and it opens your eyes, right?
And if that's your doorway into, history and the war, then that's, fantastic. What else can you ask for?
We're gonna wrap this up very soon, okay? But I would like could you read that piece again for me? I think we should end on this, and you wrote this, didn't you?
Yeah.
This is actually, and I'm not saying this because I do write professionally, but I just think this is a beautiful piece of writing. I think we should wrap this, this very, very...
Whole thing?
Yeah. I think we should wrap this up with Benjy's beautiful piece of writing here that I'm really, really impressed with. And I just think that it sums up these last two episodes and the whole of the stupid nihilism of war. And I think he should probably publish this personally. But anyway, I'll let Benjy take it away. Benjy, enjoy the poem, the piece of writing.
One event more than any other has shaped the world we live in today. From blood and mud of the trenches of France to the steppes of Russia and the plains of Africa. Crushed under the boot heels of millions of men, the glory and romanticism of the old world died, and our new world was born in the smoke and horror. Empires and kingdoms that had stood for 1,000 years would crumble, never to return, and new independent nations would rise from the ashes, while countries like America, Canada, Australia, and India would acquire legacies and new national identities forged in the flames of war, and man would finally accept that the awful weapons had finally taken over, and those that stood in the way would be ground to dust. Even as the war approached its end, the violence would continue to ramp up and increase until its bloody conclusion, the guns and artillery firing right up until 11 a.m. on the armistice. 9 million soldiers dead, 5 million civilians dead. The world would never be the same, and what was thought to be the war to end all wars would be nothing but an idealistic dream. The horror would return sooner rather than later. Mud and blood in a foreign land, trying to understand. Where is this greatness I've been told? This is the lies that we've been sold. Is this a worthy sacrifice?
Yeah, I think we're going to leave it on that, guys, because that's absolutely beautiful. And it's if someone doesn't want to put music to that, if someone's good enough to put music to that, then that is just unbelievable. I'm blown away. Because I haven't seen that really until Benjy brought it here to record, and it just sums up these last few weeks of episodes we've been listening to. So on that regard, I think we might just leave this quietly for remembrance. And then once you've done that, put on some loud fuck off music, and just remember the rest of it. Okay. Oh yes, I forgot. We do have a little bit left, but we might bring that. We might get onto that in the next episode. All right. I just think that we should end on that one. It's just fantastic. Anyway, thanks, Benjy.
Thanks, guys.
Get tissue. That's really quite moved me.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Always happy to come on and talk.
Yeah.
Talk history and music. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Yeah. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you do live by those words. The stuff that Benjy wrote there really is quite meaningful. Anyway, talk to you on the other side, guys. Bye.